Coming up on Tech Edge, talking about presidents.
Hi, I'm Guy Trainin.
And I'm Amanda Hall.
And this is Tech Edge. And today we're talking about presidents, which is a topic we come back to every year at the beginning of the year around President's Day, even if we don't teach presidents and we don't teach history at any other time. So we're going to share some apps that could help you if you're teaching in the classroom. And as we were looking through and finding presidents' apps, it was a little bit uneven. So there's some great ones out there, and there's some ones where you wonder exactly who they're directed at.
Right. And it's really hard to control the levels of it to make sure that they're appropriate for classrooms.
So there's some that there's just too much information. So on some level, it's something that you would like to use with younger kids, but the level of vocabulary and the level of detail about presidents and what they're expected to know about them is just so hard that you're thinking, okay, this should happen in high school, but this is not something we teach in high school. So we were a little bit confused, and we tried to pick the best ones for you. So the first one is called Presidents, as simple as that, and a lot of them are called that.
Right.
And that makes it a little bit harder to differentiate. And in that one, what do we see?
In presidents, you'll just kind of see a timeline about all the presidents and how they kind of overlap with each other and what years that they were in.
So it starts with a graphic interface that is really nice because it shows not just their timeline in the presidency, but actually their lifetime. So you can see which ones lived at the same time, even if they didn't spend the same time in the White House, which is really interesting. And there's also an annotation to the party they belong to. So it's a great way to start that, and it has a lot of information in there. The second one is called the American Presidency, and that's just chock full of information. So you've got all of the presidents and then a biography, what the key things they've done, a picture or a photo of them depending on the era, and just a great way for kids to get access to all of that information visually very, very quickly. For somewhat younger kids, that would probably be better than the timeline.
Right.
Next.
Well, the last one we're going to talk about is Presidents versus Aliens, and it's actually a game, but the great thing about it is students are able to kind of challenge their thinking and kind of quiz themselves on the presidency while also kind of having fun. So.
And killing some aliens, which
That's right.
is one of the jobs of the presidents, as we well know. And finally, we've got light presidents, and we'll show you exactly what that includes. And I'm going to get a plug at the end about speeches. I've showed some speeches apps before, and I think that's again one of those ways where you can get access to the way presidents sounded and not just to what they wrote or their biographies. So it's another access to what presidents are all about. Let's go to the apps.
Great. So this app is called Presidents by Black Stripes Publishing. And the great thing about this app is that everything is kind of, you can see down here in its own little diagram, and you can see what these people were a party. So anybody who had white meant that they were a non-party. And if you were specific, you wanted to study only, let's say, Republicans, you could actually take this off and you would then see only Republicans that were president in the last...
Since the creation of the country. So you can look at different parties or at everybody together. And the other thing we mentioned before is the ability to see how they overlap in time. So you can see what presidents were alive at the same time, though they were presidents at different time points during that era.
Right. And then if you click on a specific person, it'll actually pop up and you can see all the information that's provided from Wikipedia.
So you can get a lot of information, and you can actually make that the whole page if you wanted to.
Right.
This app is the presidency, or the American presidency, and you can see that all of the presidents are arranged. There's no room for new presidents, so I'm not sure what they're going to do next. But when you press on a specific president, in this case Johnson, you can see their lifetime, party affiliation, all of that. So similar to the other app, but here it's organized in a visual way, and then a short biography that's available about their lives. So again, if we're doing this kind of project where students are looking for a specific president, each one is looking for a different one, this is an easy way to do this, and this is again a free app called The Presidency or the American Presidency.
Okay, this app was Presidents versus Aliens, and this is the game that we were talking about. And this one you kind of have to play with to make sure that you pick the appropriate difficulty level for your kids if you're going to use it in the classroom. So you can pick what questions are going to show up. So if you don't want to have nicknames or
quotes
to show up, then you can unclick those and they won't appear in the game. And then you can press select. And when
Ready, set, go!
a question will appear and it'll ask you, which president is Martin Van Buren? So then you can shoot the president's head at the aliens. And you keep doing this until all the aliens are gone, and then once you're done, it gives you a president and you can collect so many. And this is great because it's a free app, so for a low budget, it works really well.
So is it only about the pictures, or does it go beyond the pictures?
It's only about the picture. Well, it only does pictures. It may ask a question like, who is this president? Or it might do something different, but it uses only pictures.
One thing I like about this app, besides the fact that it's visual, is the fact that you get an interesting feedback only when you're correct. So when you're incorrect, just nothing happens, which doesn't reinforce, because some games, there's actually something cooler happening when you're wrong than when you're right, and kids tend to go to see the reaction.
So when you're done, it'll do a new president. It'll show up. But since I've kind of earned the maximum number
What
of
happens if you
presidents,
press My Presidents?
shows all the presidents that you've earned during the game.
In order.
Right, and you can click on their name and it gives you or click on the face and it'll give you their name.
Another option for a Presidents app is Presidents LT, or LT Presidents to be more exact. And this has a picture of the president, the years they were president, and then if you click on them, you get a description of where they are, what they've done, what are the major contributions to the world, and that summarizes it. And moving across, you can move to see different presidents. Again, it's a timeline, but it's less clear than just the straightforward timeline, but it is visually more appealing. Very similar to the other apps containing the same information, just a different way to present the material. LT Presidents. This app is Greatest Speeches in History by Palliser Labs, and they have actually published a whole series of those. So there's one for Reagan, for FDR, and other presidents. You can download the basic app, which will have only a few speeches that are available for free, or you can pay some to get a lot more. So it depends really on what you're interested. In Greatest Speeches in History, it has more than presidents, but obviously it has quite a few presidents. Here we can hear, for example, John Kennedy's.
My fellow citizens, this government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance.
So here you can hear, for example, the speech to the nation that John F. Kennedy made during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and there are other examples here, but great way to access the voice and the feeling of the time, and not just to read speeches on paper, which loses a lot in translation.
Today we had a lot of fun looking at presidents and apps.
And see you next time on Tech Edge.